Yeah, one of the other reasons I like this is, diversification is a huge topic in the investing world, right? You talk about it. I've heard you talk about it before. Ray Dalio, who's someone I follow a lot. I know a lot of people that follow me follow him, and he's big hedge fund manager. Talks about diversification, and just my personal philosophy on diversification. I think it was Warren Buffett who said, like, put all your eggs in one basket and watch that basket like a hawk. Like, that's a Warren Buffett quote, right? So I feel like that's more like my style. I'm like, I believe in this. I know this. I can help control this. I'm going all in on this. And so for me right now, that it's real estate, that's co-living, that's I'm putting my mouth where my beliefs are. And I say that publicly on this podcast because people who know me, I'm teaching, I'm selling courses, I'm doing all this stuff around co-living, right? I'm building, I'm teaching, I'm managing. However, that being said, there is a comfort that I get to have the safety that you've talked about in these policies. And so I feel like for me, it gives me almost more permission to be, and again, it's kind of in line with everything we've been saying already, but like, it just gives me more permission to be more risky, if you will, and go do this cash flow stuff and knowing that I'm building this. And for whatever reason in my brain, it just helps me go out there. And then when I do remember, I got these policies, like if whatever happens, if 2008 happens again, like it's cool. I have this, I don't even call it a nest egg. I'm not sure that's the right term for it, but I have this thing, kind of this little engine. Let's call it an engine. It's a second little engine working in the background, building, creating, stashing away. And so, for those people who have kids and have families, and it's like, and I'm even saying that even if I don't die, like if I don't die, I'm not, it's not the death benefit I'm talking about. I'm talking about the equity that you've talked about and the ability to tap into that if absolutely needed to, and, or to invest or whatever. I think that's a valuable mindset for people who maybe are, and a lot of real estate investors, what I've learned, they are on the aggressive side. They're a little bit more on the aggressive side. People who believe in real estate are like, they're part of the real estate cult. Like they think real estate's the only way to invest. It's kind of what happens. But it's nice to be able to kind of question that theory and be like, you know what, let me create some safety over here. How would you describe that to people? I mean, does that resonate? Am I saying it correctly? Like, is that?
Yeah, no, 100%. That it, almost everyone has three segments of their financial plan. There's the home run segment, which for you is real estate. For some people, that's running a business or becoming a, partner in a law firm, whatever it might be, or, run a private equity group, something like that, right? That's the home run. And that part is always going to be the very best investment, right? That's the home run. And always, big proponent of investing in yourself first, right? Like that's the deal. But in many cases, like you said, that safe bucket frees up you even just mentally to know that you've got that like backstop. If this other stuff just for some reason crumbled, if something came out of left field and just blindsided you, that you've got this bucket over here that you can use as not only an emergency fund, but like an opportunity fund. And that's the way most of our clients view that cash value, is that it's the opportunity fund. Because if you look at the options, it's like, okay, cash. We already determined earlier in the podcast that you lose 2% every year. If I was like, hey, Sam, I've got this great new, access to liquidity and it loses 2% every year, how much would you give me? Like that. But cash is a necessary evil to be able to be well positioned to buy this stuff on sale when it comes on sale. And so I love, like, you're bringing up Warren Buffett and say like, hey, yeah, they may just know 10 stocks, right? 10 stocks really, really well and buy them at a fair value and then hold on to them and watch them like a hawk. And this is where, cash value life insurance complements real estate so well, is that your two options, if you don't already have a portfolio where you can borrow, from the home equity, and now even right now with where HELOC rates are and stuff like that, that's a pretty rough dynamic, right? That's not if you're just getting going in the real estate world, it is not good to be borrowing a HELOC to go buy another property. Not to say that it's horrible, but it's not as good a math as it was 24 months ago.
Absolutely not. You're exactly right. It's prime plus loan or prime plus a half, and you're at 9%.
You're paying 9%, and that's rough. So the alternative is, okay, cash. We determine that loses you 2%. then the other is like, okay, equities, and equities typically, are in line with where real estate is. When when '08 happened, real estate was just pummeling. When COVID happened, equity market dropped 30% in 30 days, sent everybody into a tizzy. And even last year, like bonds or fixed income is supposed to be a shock absorber for when the equity market dips. Bonds last year were down over 13% when the S&P 500 was down a little over 18%. So it's that one other asset that's different, and that it's going to actually grow. It's not going to be better than equities, but it sure as heck is going to be better than cash. And in many cases is better than fixed income because it actually is growing without the impact of tax. So bonds over the last 15 years have yielded right around 2.7%, so barely inflation. And some of those bonds are inflationary, right? Or I'm sorry, some of those bonds are taxable. So you're getting taxed on 2.7 and you're barely keeping up with inflation.
What's that third bucket, man? You got your home run bucket. That's badass. I like to play in that bucket. you got your safety bucket. What's
the third is aggressive, and that is like equities. That's your 401k, your brokerage account. You could sprinkle in, even doing a little bit of private equity like investments if you have friends or other buddies that are willing to, kind of let you in on those opportunities. But really, like your home run, that's that home run segment. The other aggressive segment, equities. And I'm a big fan of equities in the long run, that traditionally you've been, 8 to 12% compounded rate of return if you're just all in equities. So that's one of the other pieces of like, even if it's somebody that says, well, I always like having $50,000 of cash because it just helps me sleep good at night, knowing that I've got it. Well, great. If you peel off $5,000 a year to integrate this type of strategy, having $45,000, versus $50,000, and realistically, if you funded it correctly, you're probably still going to have like $48,000. There might be a $2,000 delta for 1 year. The next year, you've got that equity in your cash value policy that like you've still got access to more than $50,000 of equity in cash in 2 years.
Yeah, it's an alternative. It's an alternative to holding cash that grows, that has all these other litany of other benefits, and you still have access to it. Like that is the cool piece of this strategy.